In the distance, the Golden Crow Demon Emperor and the demons gathered in a valley. A demon saint said in a low voice, Li Daokong wasn't fooled. Should we still attack? The Golden Crow Demon Emperor snorted. There's no need. Li Daokong is arrogant and doesn't tolerate anything. Even if he knows our plan, he will fall into it because he doesn't want to make us seem afraid of him. The other demon saints felt that it made sense and nodded. They didn't want to face Li Daokong directly. The news that the demons had surrounded the Buzhou Divine Mountain quickly spread. The Jia school also began to approach the Buzhou Divine Mountain. Time passed. 1,000 years passed. Hanju opened his eyes. He first paid attention to the situation of the Buzhou Divine Mountain. The demons were already gone. Wait! Hanju suddenly saw the murderous aura spreading at the edge of the Buzhou Divine Mountain. Could it be? Hanju checked the Heavenly Dao Providence board. Li Daokong had already fallen to 3rd place. The new number 1 was Great Loose Heaven. Hanju pinched his fingers to deduce. It turned out that the Jia school indeed wanted to pursue the demons, but they were stopped by the Buddhist sect, causing the demons to continue pestering the Buzhou Divine Mountain. Unhappy, Li Daokong attacked them. He slaughtered more than 100 million demon soldiers. Negative karma surrounded him and negated a lot of providence. Ma! The Golden Crow Demon Emperor was severely injured by Li Daokong. If not for the Heavenly Dao Supreme Treasure, he would have died on the spot. Hanju was speechless. He didn't blame Li Daokong for this. This was his choice. However, the Buddhist sect actually supported the demons. Probably not. Perhaps the Buddhist sect was only going against the Jia school. Hanju didn't look for Chou Shilai because of this. His forces couldn't be so harmonious. That was unrealistic and would attract more trouble. Being stronger in battle was also a good thing. Hanju stopped thinking about this and looked at his son, Han Tuo. The Divine Palace had been developing the mortal world recently. Han Tuo had also personally brought people into the mortal world. He had gone to the Loose Heaven realm. The Divine Palace and the Loose Heaven sect seemed to have established a certain relationship. Han Tuo's cultivation had never fallen. Now, he was already at the 3 mystic divine origin and improved very quickly. Hanju looked at Etian next. This son of the Heavenly Dao was already at the 5 mystic divine origin. The son of the Heavenly Dao was really impressive. Hanju shifted his gaze to Hanyu. Hanyu was drinking with the Eastern Sea Dragon King in the Dragon Palace outside the immortal world. The 7 princesses of the Eastern Sea had taken a liking to Hanyu. When the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea learned that his master was Li Daokong, he wanted to recruit him as a son-in-law. Hanju smiled. Since he looks like me, he's indeed easily liked by women. Hanju thought with a smile. His descendants had their own lives to live. He couldn't be bothered to interfere. The Dragon King of the Eastern Sea was only a Grand Unity Golden Immortal and was not worthy of meeting him. Hanju paid attention to the others next. Several days later, he entered cultivation again. This was the life of a sage. He spent most of his time meditating and cultivating. 33rd Heaven, Great Ultimate Hall. Fang Liang slowly walked into the hall. His expression was indifferent as his sleeves fluttered. His aura was solemn and ethereal. Ancestor Shitian slowly opened his eyes and looked at Fang Liang, who was walking towards him. He fell into a daze. Fang Liang stopped 100 feet in front of him and said, Ancestor Shitian, the Dao Ancestor asked me to find you. You should know the reason, right? Ancestor Shitian said, yes. The Jade Slip of Creation. He sized up Fang Liang and sighed. How does it feel to become the Dao Ancestor? Fang Liang replied, I've seen through a lot and have a lot to endure. Where is the Dao Ancestor? The Dao Ancestor is everywhere. Why did the Dao Ancestor look for you? Primordial Fiend Celestial. Ancestor Shitian fell silent. Fang Liang said, where is the Jade Slip of Creation? Can you give it to me? Ancestor Shitian said, I can't give you the jade slip of creation because it's no longer here. I don't know where it is, either. This treasure has a spirit, and it disappeared before the previous calamity. Because of this, I haven't even preached the Tao to the living beings in the immortal world. I wanted to find traces of the jade slip of creation, but it's a pity. Fang Yang frowned. Ancestor Shi Tian said, if it isn't in the heavenly Tao, it must be in the deity realm of the ruins of End, or even deeper in the ancient desolate. You can go and find it. The Tao ancestor will definitely protect you. You have to be careful of the Tao devils in the deity realm of the ruins of End. In the ancient desolate, you have to be careful of the fiend celestials. Fang Liang snorted and left. After he left the great ultimate hall, Ancestor Shi Tian sighed and said slowly, Tao ancestor, what are you plotting? A long time ago, you seemed to be afraid of something. Now, I've already seen through the illusion and transcended everything, but I still can't see what you're chasing. In his memories, the Tao ancestor had always been very mysterious. He was clearly the strongest after the creation of the world, but he always cultivated in seclusion. Ancestor Shi Tian opened his right hand, and a purple jade slip appeared in it. The Jie School's Sage Tao Field. Huang Zuntian knelt in front of Sect Master Tianju respectfully, not daring to look at him. Sect Master Tianju said, your performance was not bad. You are now in the top 10 of the Heavenly Tao Providence board. You didn't embarrass the Jie School. Huang Zuntian replied, it's all thanks to the Jie School's Providence. If anyone else was the sect master of the intercepting sect, they would only be better than me. Stop acting humble. I have something important to tell you. Go ahead, sage. The Chan School and the Jie School are preparing to join forces to create a new Heavenly Tao. Hurry up and recruit disciples and send them to the new Heavenly Tao. All right. Huang Zuntian immediately agreed. Yes. If this is done well, I will preach the Tao to you alone. Thank you, sage. You can leave. Huang Zuntian bowed and left. After leaving the 33rd heaven, Huang Zuntian traveled through the sea of clouds expressionlessly. He was thinking about what sect master Tianju had instructed. New Heavenly Tao. Something's wrong. Now, the Jie School and the Chan School are still important in the immortal world. They are even becoming more prosperous. Why do they want to create a new Heavenly Tao? Huang Zuntian smelled a conspiracy. However, he couldn't participate in the sage's plan. Not to mention investigating, once he was in a bad state, the sage might also notice. After becoming the sect master of the Jie School, Huang Zuntian had been walking on thin ice every day. He took every step carefully. He had a feeling that this was related to Hanju. Hanju had broken the situation of the sages. The current peace was brought by Hanju because he was too strong. The sages didn't dare to compete with him and had to stick together. Thinking of this, Huang Zuntian was full of admiration for Hanju. After he became a sage, he didn't spread his strength everywhere. Instead, he brought peace to the immortal world. The current immortal world was even more prosperous than before the calamity. This was the bearing of a sage. He, Huang Zuntian, had to follow Hanju's footsteps firmly. Huang Zuntian began to think about how to contact Hanju and tell him about this new development. He definitely couldn't go to the 100-peak Immortal River directly. He had to think of a way for Hanju to visit him in his dreams. If I'm injured, Master will definitely notice me. Hanju opened his eyes and habitually checked his emails to see if anything interesting had happened recently. Your good friend Huang Zuntian was attacked by your son Han Tua and was severely injured. Your good friend Ancestor Shi Tian has left the Heavenly Tao. Your good friend South Extreme Heavenly Venerate has split open a world. The providence of the Heavenly Tao has weakened. Your good friend Li Daokong has comprehended a mystical power. His cultivation has increased greatly. Your grand disciple Murong Chi has transformed into a chaotic fiend celestial. Your good friend Immortal Emperor Samsara was attacked by a mysterious mighty figure. Your disciple Su Chi was acknowledged by a mysterious existence. Hanju was stunned when he saw Huang Zuantian being severely injured by Han Tuo. Impossible! The difference in cultivation between the two was so great. Even if Han Tuo erupted his potential, it was impossible for him to hurt Huang Zuantian. Moreover, when Huang Zuantian saw Han Tuo, he should be able to guess their relationship. Could it be that Huang Zuantian wanted to attract Hanju's attention? Under normal circumstances, a father would definitely pay attention to his son. Hanju thought for a moment and still sent a dream to Huang Zuantian. In the dream, Huang Zuantian looked at him in surprise. "Master, you really understand me," he said excitedly. Hanju asked angrily, "What is it?" Huang Zuantian immediately told him what sect Master Tianju had arranged for him. So, it was the new heavenly Tao. Hanju already knew from the emails, but he didn't tell Huang Zuantian. The emails could only be read one-sided. He was very satisfied that Huang Zuantian could tell him at the price of severely injuring himself. Among the spies he had planted, Huang Zuantian was the best. He didn't cause trouble and did not need help. He was self-sufficient and could help him. Thinking of this, Hanju's gaze softened. However, the divine light of the sun and moon yin-yang protection shone on him, preventing Huang Zuantian from seeing his expression. Hanju said, "Yes, I'll consider this matter. Don't look for Han Tuo next time. The sages will also suspect if you do it too many times." Huang Zuantian nodded. "I'll teach you a mystical power. Once you use it, I'll know that you're looking for me." Hanju then pointed at Huang Zuantian's forehead. He taught him the invocation technique. After the dream ended, Hanju continued to read the emails. 2 hours later, he started cultivating again. He had already reached the perfected primordial chaos zenith heaven golden immortal realm. Next, he should consider the freedom sage realm. How to become a freedom sage depended on the great Tao of extreme origin. Hanju's great Tao of extreme origin was already very powerful and all-encompassing. As he continued to cultivate the grand unity aspect, the power of the great Tao of extreme origin was also expanding. One day, the great Tao of extreme origin would contain 3,000 great Tao and become the strongest great Tao. Hanju wanted to turn himself into the great Tao of extreme origin. The great Tao was everywhere. The body of the Tao could exist forever. This was a little like Tao integration. After the Tao ancestor became a sage, in order to reach a higher level, he fused with the heavenly Tao and stood above the sages. Unlike the relationship between the heavenly Tao and the Tao ancestor, the great Tao of extreme origin was completely created by Hanju. It was completely obedient to him, and he didn't have to worry about a backlash. Hanju had to become a freedom sage as soon as possible. Only then could he face the attacks of the Dark Sage King and Luo Ho. Time passed. More than 2,000 years passed. You ovals up tes on NOVLB. Calm unknowingly, Hanju was already 10 years old. Detected that you are 100,000 years old. You have the following choices. 1. Exit seclusion immediately and create your own heavenly Tao. You can obtain a mystical power inheritance, a great Tao fragment, a heavenly Tao spirit stone, and a supreme treasure. 2. Cultivate in a low-profile manner and stay away from trouble. You can obtain a great Tao fragment and activate the second Tao field. Hanju opened his eyes. Second Tao field? He was immediately interested. What was the second Tao field? Creating a new Tao field? He immediately chose the second option. You chose to cultivate in a low-profile manner and obtained a great Tao fragment and the chance to open the second Tao field. Second Tao field. After choosing a location to build the second Tao field, within a certain period of time, the spirit chi and array formation of the second Tao field will be raised to the same level as the main Tao field. You can teleport between the two Tao fields at any time. Everything will depend on the intentions of the Tao field master. Hanju widened his eyes. The second Tao field did not need to be upgraded. It could directly become as powerful as the main Tao field. Teleportation? a necessary tool for escape. Hanju was very happy. This function was not bad. If the 100-peak Immortal River was attacked by the Tao ancestor one day, he could escape at any time. Where should he build the second Tao field? At the Dark Forbidden Zone? At the deity realm of the Ruins of End? Hanju first eliminated the deity realm of the Ruins of End. It was too close. The Tao ancestor would definitely be able to find it. He had to go somewhere extremely far from the immortal world. Hanju suddenly thought of the Earth Immortal World. The Earth Immortal World's Jinyuanzi was not as powerful as the Tao ancestor, but he didn't know how far the Earth Immortal World was from the immortal world. I want to know where the furthest place from the immortal world is. It cannot be deduced because the immortal world is the center of chaos. Hanju laughed at himself. Even if he knew the furthest place, he couldn't go there. Or the Earth Immortal World. Hanju immediately sent a dream to Immortal Emperor Samsara. He taught him the invocation technique. Several days later, Immortal Emperor Samsara began to summon him. Hanju was very cautious and asked in his mind, "Is there anyone stronger than me in the Earth Immortal World?" 3 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Not for the time being. Hanju heaved a sigh of relief and stepped into the black vortex of the invocation technique. He came in front of Immortal Emperor Samsara. This was a dark hall that was ghastly like a demon cave. Immortal Emperor Samsara knelt down on one knee and bowed to him. Hanju said, "How's the reincarnation space recently?" He had already activated all his supreme treasures to guard against enemies at all times. Although there was no existence stronger than him in the Earth Immortal World, what if a terrifying expert suddenly descended outside it? It was always good to be careful. Immortal Emperor Samsara began to talk about the development of the reincarnation space. Hanju spread his sage sense and spied on the Earth Immortal World. The Earth Immortal World had already transformed into a universe. It was extremely vast with countless stars. The reincarnation space was located in the chaos above the Earth Immortal World. He began to search for a suitable place for the second Tao field. Earth? No! Earth was too weak. If it was destroyed by cultivators, wouldn't the Tao field be exposed? Hanju's gaze landed on the sun. He could place the Tao field there. After making up his mind, Hanju interrupted Immortal Emperor Samsara and said, "I'm going out for a walk. Continue with your things." With that, he vanished. Immortal Emperor Samsara frowned. He was vigilant. Could it be that a sage had appeared in the Earth Immortal World? That Jinyuanzi is back? The more Immortal Emperor Samsara thought about it, the more uneasy he became. He could only pray that Hanju could eliminate the powerful enemy. He was still very confident in Hanju. This fellow wouldn't make a move unless he was absolutely confident. On the other side, Hanju had already arrived at the sun. The scorching heat had no effect on him. He penetrated the ground and created a space inside the sun before letting the system build a second Tao field. The second Tao field has begun to be established. You can leave at any time. You don't have to wait. How humane. Hanju smiled in satisfaction and jumped back in front of Immortal Emperor Samsara. Hanju had only left for less than 3 breaths of time. Was it so fast? Hanju said calmly, "To sages, an instant is an eternity." Immortal Emperor Samsara did not understand but felt that it was impressive. Before jumping into the black vortex of the invocation technique, Hanju said, "The reincarnation space is the plan of a sage. Think about it more and don't lose your life." Immortal Emperor Samsara looked as the black vortex shrank. He was suddenly touched. With Hanju's identity, there was no need to say these words to rope him in, because there was a sage driving him to do his best. Hanju said this because of the kindness from his childhood. Immortal Emperor Samsara took a deep breath and adjusted his emotions. His gaze passed through the hall and saw the entire Earth Immortal World. He wanted to swallow all of this. After returning to the 100-peak Immortal River, Hanju patiently waited for the establishment of the second Tao field. 99 years passed. The second Dao field has been successfully established. You can teleport over at any time. Seeing this line of words, Hanju immediately chose to teleport. Immediately after, he appeared in the second Dao field below on Earth Immortal Worlds. Sun. At a glance, it was dark everywhere. The ground beneath his feet was uneven. There were no mountains or water trees. Hanju waved his hand and created a small world with the great Tao of extreme origin. Sunlight appeared and flowers grew on the ground. Mountain ranges rose and clouds condensed. The darkness was dispersed and replaced by a beautiful world. This world was very big. It was comparable to 10 Earths. Although the scenery was beautiful, there were no living beings. It was abnormally silent. Hanju felt that the spirit chi here was still increasing. He didn't know how long it would take for it to increase to the same level of spirit chi as the main Dao field. Hanju started to think about who to let in. No! He couldn't let anyone in. He couldn't put all the eggs in one basket. Hanju wanted to nurture a power that even his personal disciples didn't know. Even the personal disciple couldn't know, let alone the enemy. Should he let it in after the chaotic fiend Celestial was born? But if that was the case, how long would he have to wait? Hanju teleported back to the 100-peak Immortal River. He decided to transplant some natural treasures into the second Dao field, such as the myriad-form Bodhi tree and the traceless breeze lotus. The spirit chi of the main Dao field no longer needed the enhancement of natural treasures. It was better to put these treasures in the second Dao field. Perhaps they could transform into living beings in the future. Soon, the transplantation was successful. The teleportation between the two Dao fields was very convenient. A thought was enough. After thinking about it, Hanju called the Crimson Fox in. The Crimson Fox was a small demon Hanju encountered when he was training before attaining the Dao. It had cultivated in the 100-peak Immortal River for tens of thousands of years and had reached the rank 9 Immortal Emperor realm, but it had yet to cross to the deity realm. The Crimson Fox usually stayed outside the Taoist temple and did not have many friends in the 100-peak Immortal River. After entering the Taoist temple, the Crimson Fox carefully lay in front of Hanju. After so many years, it still had not transformed because it liked its true form. You've been in the hidden sect for so long. Why don't you interact with the other disciples? Hanju asked. The Crimson Fox was so frightened that it hurriedly said, I just want to hurry up and cultivate. I only care about you in the entire hidden sect. If you want me to interact with other disciples, I can do it. On it thought that he was interrogating it. Hanju said, since you're unwilling, there's no need to force it. Loneliness is also the path of the strong. The Crimson Fox heaved a sigh of relief. Hanju asked, what do you think of your potential? The Crimson Fox was silent. The reason why Hanju asked was to turn it into a chaotic fiend celestial. The transformation of the fiend celestial chi in the primordial world was too slow. It was unknown how long it would take for the chaotic fiend celestial to be born. By fusing living beings with the fiend celestial chi, one could transcend the process of nurturing the soul. The process was even faster. Morong Chi had already completely transformed into a chaotic fiend celestial. He could be released after some time. After thinking about it, Hanju decided to give the Crimson Fox a chance. This little fellow stayed outside the Taoist temple and did its duty. Although there was no surprise, it wouldn't disturb Hanju. This tenacity satisfied him. After a while, the Crimson Fox gritted its teeth and said, Master, please give me a chance. It was not stupid. If Hanju wanted to expel it, there was no need to say anything. This was giving it a chance to choose. No matter what, since it chose to follow him, it had to walk the same path. Hanju said, this process is very painful. If you survive, you will obtain potential that surpasses all living beings in the heavenly Tao. I'm willing. Very good. Hanju didn't say anything else. He directly destroyed its body and moved its soul into the primordial world. Which chaotic fiend celestial should he choose? Hanju felt the joy of playing a breeding game. He was excited. After thinking about it, Hanju decided to fuse the Crimson Fox with the giant fiend celestial. This fellow didn't want to transform. It would be quite interesting if a fox larger than the universe appeared in the future. Hanju began to fuse the Crimson Fox with the giant fiend celestial. Strangely, the Crimson Fox did not roar. Even the Divine Palace War God, Murongchi, could not withstand the pain. It could actually endure it. This kid was not simple. Hanju's anticipation increased. He shut the authority the Crimson Fox had in the Myriad Worlds projection. He wanted to completely isolate the main Dao field from the second Dao field. As for Su Qi, Hanju thought for a moment and decided to forget it. He let him stay in the 100-peak Immortal River. In the future, the Crimson Fox would be the second Dao field's leader. The giant Fiend Celestial would be the leader of the Fiend Celestials. It was quite cool. Apart from the Crimson Fox, Hanju had to arrange other disciples. He decided not to choose from the 100-peak Immortal River, but nurture new disciples from the outside world. As for Han Tuo and Han Yu, there was karma in the immortal world, so they couldn't be chosen. Hanju stopped thinking and helped the Crimson Fox successfully fuse first. Although he had already succeeded twice, he had to be cautious not to fail. Another 1,000 years passed. The power of the giant Fiend Celestial no longer resisted the Crimson Fox. Next was to fuse. Hanju could finally do other things without worries. His chapter is update D by NOVE, E.L. By and Co.M. He came to the second Dao field. His sage sense swept through the Earth immortal world. He wanted to choose a suitable successor to become a Fiend Celestial. He thought for a moment and decided to choose from Earth. It was also a form of release for his previous life. If this child grew up, Earth would also be protected. Hanju was born on Earth, so he had to do something if he could. Several days later, Hanju found someone. This youth was only 14 years old. He was an orphan from a country on Earth. He had yellow skin, and following the source of his bloodline, he was also considered Chinese. After billions of years on Earth, the race had already changed many times. Because the Chinese were Khanate humans brought by Jinyuanzi. Even if the Earth encountered any danger, they wouldn't be wiped out. Hanju had deduced that the Chinese were not born on Earth. Jinyuanzi had specially introduced them. When he chose Earth, it was still dominated by dinosaurs. Jinyuanzi had no choice but to destroy the dinosaurs. The arrival of the Khanate human race brought Providence and promoted the evolution of the Earth's original humans, which created white and black people. The evolution of any species was long, spanning tens of millions of years, or even hundreds of millions of years. With the help of the Khanate human spells, Earth's human race developed quickly and was evolved from the apes. The corners of Yangdu's mouth curled up in anticipation. Twisting his waist, he picked up a silver metal rod placed by the door and walked east. At this moment, a beam of light descended from the sky and collided with Yangdu's forehead at an extremely fast speed. Yangdu was instantly stunned on the spot. His eyes were unfocused. After a long time, your F-Vorite stories on O.V.L.B.N. CM Yangdu opened his eyes. He muttered to himself, Heavenly Cycle Body Tempering Technique. What is this? Hanju looked at Yangdu from the sun. Yangdu had no one to rely on. Even if his life was rough, he did not lose his optimism. His optimism was not a pretense. At night, when he was alone, he would look forward to his future and not be sad. The spirit chi in the Earth immortal world was insufficient, so Hanju taught him the Heavenly Cycle Body Tempering Technique. This technique was mainly for body tempering and could attract natural energy to temper the body. However, in the later stages, he still had to rely on spirit chi. In addition, the Heavenly Cycle Body Tempering Technique was originally suitable for cultivating the chaotic physique. After Hanju's adaptation, he created the Mortal Physique Chapter. In other words, it was very difficult for mortal spirits to unleash its true effect. However, Yangdu would become a chaotic fiend celestial in the future. Cultivating this technique in advance would be considered preparation. At that time, Hanju would move him into the second Dao field to cultivate. Hanju returned to the main Dao field and continued cultivating. If Yangdu died early, it meant that this child was not tough enough, wasn't worth nurturing. Time passed. 1,000 years passed quickly. Hanju's understanding of the great Tao of extreme origin became deeper and deeper. He first wanted to create a corporeal existence before fusing it with his body. However, Hanju couldn't create a physical existence for the great Tao of extreme origin. It was a strange feeling, as if it already existed. It was clearly created by him. How could he not know if the great Tao of extreme origin really existed? Hanju had to use the derivation function. I want to know why the great Tao of extreme origin can't become a true existence. 100 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? As expected of the great Tao I created. Your value is really high. Continue. The great Tao of extreme origin already exists. Stunned, Hanju subconsciously asked, where? This time, his lifespan was not deducted. It's located in the depths of the chaos. The exact location has already entered your mind. A huge piece of memory appeared in Hanju's mind, like a virtual map. The great Tao of extreme origin already existed and was still very far from the immortal world. Hanju showed a frown. It was too dangerous to go out alone so far. However, if he didn't find the great Tao of extreme origin, he wouldn't be able to become a freedom sage. Damn it! When he created the great Tao of extreme origin, why didn't he notice that this thing ran so far? Hanju couldn't help but ask, afraid that there was a conspiracy. Another 100 billion years of lifespan were deducted. The great Tao can only be born in the depths of chaos. Alright. Hanju began to think about how to find the great Tao of extreme origin. If the main Tao field left the 100-peak immortal river, it would be isolated by the heavenly Tao if it wanted to enter in the future. He could only use the second Tao field. In any case, no fiend celestials were living in the second Tao field for the time being. Hanju immediately found the previous hidden sect island, a grain of sand that contained special spatial dimension laws. He took hidden sect island and teleported to the second Tao field, transferring it to the island. The next transfer would take 100 years. 100 years of cooldown was already considered short for Hanju. After doing all of this, he took back hidden sect island and came to the main Tao field again. It was unknown if it was a blessing or a curse to head into the depths of the chaos this time. Hanju looked at Hantua and Hanyu. The two of them were doing well and had different lives. The other disciples were also fine. In that case, Hanju could leave in peace. 500 years later, the array formation of the second Tao field had already been raised to the level of the main Tao field. Hanju prepared to leave. He left a clone in the main Taoist temple while his main body entered Hidden Sect Island. Then, he brought Hidden Sect Island to jump into the Dark Forbidden Zone and followed the map memories given by the system. The Hidden Sect Island quickly traveled through the Dark Forbidden Zone. It was very hidden. As he traveled, Hanju asked, "Will I encounter an existence that surpasses the limits of the Tao field's array formation while I search for the great Tao of extreme origin? 100 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue?" "Continue." "No, but you will encounter mighty figures far beyond you." Hanju showed a frown. It seemed that he had to be careful. Sigh. Hanju didn't want to go at first, but if he couldn't fuse with the great Tao of extreme origin, he couldn't become a freedom sage. This trip was necessary. The speed at which Hidden Sect Island traveled was very fast, but the Dark Forbidden Zone was extremely vast. The Dark Forbidden Zone was located in the chaos, but it was extremely far away. Hanju controlled Hidden Sect Island to fly while comprehending the great Tao of extreme origin. This was the first time he had truly traveled far. He was very nervous, afraid that something would happen. Year after year passed. The battle for Providence in the immortal world was still ongoing. No one knew that Hanju had left, including the hidden sect disciples. Outside the Soisat RD heaven, the south extreme heavenly venerate and sect master Tianju gathered in a Dao field. Sect master Tianju held a bronze mirror. In the mirror appeared a vast world surrounded by endless black mist. The south extreme heavenly venerate cursed. Damn dark sage king, is he staring at us? Sect master Tianju's expression was ashen. This little heavenly Dao should be gone. We'll make plans later. But the dark sage king has been staring at the immortal world. It's useless even if we split open a new world. What should I do? Kill the dark sage king. How? Li Mui almost died in the dark sage king's hands. Almost. Li Mui died in Hanju's hands. The south extreme heavenly venerate was silent. Although he tried to please Hanju and thought that he had a good relationship with him, he didn't dare to look for him. If Hanju determined that he was plotting, wouldn't he also die? The thought of that made the south extreme heavenly venerate shiver. Sect master Tianju also had a headache. If he looked for Hanju regarding this matter, he would definitely be recognized as plotting. Back then, Chou Shilai and Li Mui looked for Hanju to help resist the enemy. The two sages fell silent. In the end, they decided to find heavenly venerate Shendu. In the blink of an eye, Hanju had been out for 400 years. He opened his eyes and dreamed of immortal Emperor Samsara. He knew very well that the main Dao field had a clone guarding it. However, the reincarnation space was very far away. Hanju couldn't understand the situation. If he arranged for a clone to stay in the reincarnation space, it was very easy to expose that he was the mastermind behind it. How's the development of the reincarnation space going? Hanju asked. The reincarnation space was divided into two factions. One was Immortal Emperor Samsara, and the other was the human school of Heavenly Venerate Shendu. The two were both managing the reincarnators, indicating harmony and secretly competing. Immortal Emperor Samsara said, "Not bad. Recently, a prodigy appeared in the reincarnation space. He himself has learned a special body tempering technique, causing him to be inferior to the other reincarnators in the early stages. But now, he's already ranked in the top 10 among. Both I and the human school want to obtain him, but this child has never made a choice." Hanju said, "If you have to fight, go ahead. There's no need to worry. However, in the overall situation, you have to consider the reincarnation space." "I understand." Immortal Emperor Samsara nodded. Then, he began to talk about other things. As the reincarnation space became stronger, the various races of the Earth immortal world began to join forces to resist it. Some powerful technology almost detected its existence. Fortunately, Immortal Emperor Samsara discovered it in time and easily blocked the signal. Reincarnators who had experienced more than 100 missions could freely travel through the universe. The reincarnation space had given a death order not to leak any information about the reincarnation space, so reincarnators were very well distributed among the various classes and races in the universe. How to find the reincarnators was also the greatest problem for the various races in the universe. Hanju ended the dream. He thought for a moment and sent a dream to Yangdu. The current Yangdu already had the strength equivalent to the Mahayana realm. It might not be much in the immortal world, but in the Earth immortal world, it was definitely a strategic weapon. He was already the war god of Earth and had protected Earth from destruction by civilizations outside the solar system many times. Yangdu no longer looked like a youth, but he still looked young. He had probably taken a youth-retaining pill obtained from a mission in the reincarnation space. The River of Destiny of the Earth immortal world had a cultivation civilization. Yangdu saw him and frowned. "I don't want to take sides in the reincarnation space." Hanju indifferently asked, Is the heavenly cycle body tempering technique I gave you useful? Yongdu's expression changed drastically. He did not tell anyone about the heavenly cycle body tempering technique. Only he knew. Yongdu immediately became nervous and asked carefully, "Thank you for your kindness, senior. Why did you choose me?" The difference in cultivation level between the two was great. Their languages were different, but Hanju could easily make the two communicate at the same frequency. Hanju said, "Because you have no one to rely on. Your heart is very firm." His chapter is updat D by NOVE, E.L. Bayan Ko M Yongdu wasn't a fool and understood the implied meaning. Hanju had ulterior motives in guiding him. WA. He would never forget his loneliness before he was 14 years old. If not for the heavenly cycle body tempering technique, he wouldn't be where he was today. He was very grateful to Hanju. However, because he didn't understand Hanju, he was a little nervous. Hanju said, "Don't worry. I don't need you to do anything for me. At least, not for the time being." How long is a short period of time? In 100 million years. 100 million. Yongdu was shocked, and his body trembled. Hanju said, "The heavenly cycle body tempering technique is a method that can be cultivated until you surpass the reincarnation space. However, your physique is average. It won't be long before you encounter a bottleneck and have no choice but to cultivate other cultivation techniques. You can choose Immortal Emperor Samsara in the reincarnation space, but don't mention me. It surpassed the highest existence in the reincarnation space." Yongdu's heart beat faster. He was no longer immortal, but he still felt tiny in the face of the reincarnation space. Who was this mysterious existence surrounded by divine light? Yongdu asked carefully, "Who is Immortal Emperor Samsara?" Hanju remained silent. "Sisao." He pinched his fingers to deduce. So that was the case. Immortal Emperor Samsara did not personally look for Yongdu but let the 12 over-gods under him look for him. The master of the 12 over-gods. Yongdu was shocked again. The 12 over-gods were extraordinary existences in the reincarnation space. It was said that they could easily erase a universe. Such existences actually had a master. Could it be that the other party wanted him to hide under Immortal Emperor Samsara and be of great use in the future? Yongdu quickly found his bearings. The higher one stood, the more they knew and feared. What Yongdu was most afraid of now was that he could not improve. Then, Hanju taught Yongdu some minor techniques. To him, they were minor techniques, but to Yongdu, it was undoubtedly a huge opportunity. After ending the dream, Hanju stopped paying attention to the Earth Immortal world. After he became a freedom sage, he had to choose a few more disciples with potential. Another 1,000 years passed. Hidden Sect Island had already left the dark forbidden zone and arrived in the depths of the chaos. Hanju slowed down the island's flying speed. Chaotic light was strange and varied. There were no stars, only light and various colored mist. Hanju suddenly saw a huge corpse. It was larger than the Buzhou Divine Mountain and the entire solar system. It occupied a place like a mountain of flesh. The head couldn't be seen clearly. The blood had dried up and was terrifying. This fellow was already dead. Hanju used the simulation trial and didn't detect it. He scanned with his sage sense. This fellow should have been a pseudo-sage when he was alive. No one knew that a mighty pseudo-sage had perished here. It was a pity. The Hidden Sect Island continued forward. 37 years later, he left this dazzling domain and came to an absolutely dark space. Hanju thought that he had come to the dark forbidden zone, but this place was very different from it. Peace and serenity. It was not as terrifying as the dark forbidden zone. As Hanju got closer and closer to the Great Tao of Extreme Origin, he kept using the simulation trial function. 100 years later, Hanju finally saw the Great Tao of Extreme Origin. In the absolute darkness, the Great Tao of Extreme Origin was a ball of light that was too eye-catching. Hanju was extremely nervous. If he fused with the great Tao of extreme origin and the light suddenly disappeared, would it alert some existence hidden in the depths of the chaos? Hanju suddenly saw a figure on the left of the great Tao of extreme origin. Compared to it, he was like the sand beside the sun. He was extremely tiny, but the aura was very strong. Hanju used the simulation trial again. Li Zizai, mid-stage of the Freedom Sage realm. Hanju showed a frown. It was him. Li Yao's ancestor. This fellow's thousands of origin clones walked the heavenly Tao of all directions and experienced the myriad worlds of the mortal world. His main body cultivated the primordial chaos zenith heaven Tao fruit and became a freedom sage. One of the clones was the Li family's ancestor. Why was he here? Hanju immediately entered a simulation trial with Li Zizai. 5 minutes later, Hanju opened his eyes. This fellow was a little strong. Hanju had to use all his methods to kill him. He couldn't take the risk. If they fought and the other party couldn't be insta-killed, it was very likely to alarm other mysterious existences. Hanju felt troubled. He began to wait. He waited for 1,000 years. In these 1,000 years, Li Zizai had wanted to barge into the great Tao of extreme origin several times, but he was rejected every time. One time, he had almost been injured. That time, Hanju almost couldn't help but want to attack. At the last moment, he still held back. Calm down. He would observe for a while more. The great Tao he had created was right in front of him, but he couldn't obtain it. This feeling was too aggrieved. Just as Hanju was worried, an extremely terrifying aura descended. His heartbeat quickened. He was fine in the Tao field, but Li Zizai outside was facing a great enemy. His face went pale. Li Zizai was also considered handsome, but at this moment, he was like a mortal seeing a ghost. His body stiffened. Chaotic deity. Li Zizai bowed carefully. The void he faced was dark and no one could see anything. Unconsciously, an extremely huge and terrifying figure seemed to be lurking in the darkness.